Welcome back. The journey to becoming a healer can be difficult for many, whether young or old. In recent times, we see more and more young people answering their ancestral calling and carrying the title of healer with pride. The seemingly large number of youth taking the path, though, has drawn criticism from some quarters, with some going as far as saying it appears to be a fashion. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by traditional healer Sangoma to share her journey. Thokoza Gogo, and thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Now, you know, youth these days, and I say these days as in the 21st century, are taking over their ancestral calling, as I mentioned in the intro, with a lot of pride. But of course, you know, it happening and people seeing a lot more young people doing it, you know, has seen some people thinking that maybe this is just fashionable. And these are some of the things that myself, at least, have seen on social media. I mean, how do you respond to something like that?
To all your viewers. Thank you for having me today. Well, I'd say with anything, there will come some negative criticism. And I think we are embracing our Africanism at this point. We're not ashamed to be African. And a lot of healers, especially the healers that are in the public limelight, have opened the way and made us realize that we don't really have to lose who we are. I don't have to lose my personal self while gaining resources. So I'd say, of course, if you're standing on the other side of the road, you're going to see it as a trend. But it's just the youth no longer ashamed of accepting and taking pride in who and what they are.
Now, Gogo, a lot of youth, and this is not even something that's starting to happen recently, but it's been happening through the ages, where a lot of, especially abantu abamnyama, run away from their callings, whether or not they understand that that's what is happening to them. But when it is confronted with, or rather when they're confronted with it, they don't want to take it up. I mean, if somebody is watching this conversation between us now and is probably thinking that this is something that they are going through right now, how then would you allay their fears? How then would you encourage them to, you know, accept this? Because this is probably for your own good.
You know, I think it's the fear of the unknown. You fear what you don't know, and you fear it based on someone else's perception of it. So I'd say that spirituality is so broad, and I think the issue starts where we label it and we say ubungoma or African spirituality, that then you fear it. But it really is for your own good, because the spirit resides within you, whether you accept it or you don't. So it's just better to embrace it. You know, it's a journey, obviously, because if you're just diving into something that you don't know anything about, it is scary. But find a mentor that will assist you and not people that are just greedy or hungry for money.
Now, I'm glad you bring up the idea of people who are hungry for money. Some people who have, you know, taken up their calling and have responded to their calling have been led astray. And this is something that, you know, whether or not we want to accept is something that is happening, especially with people who don't have, you know, lineage in their family, you know, people who can guide them a little better and they're all by themselves. How then, you know, has it been dealt with? I don't know if maybe you know people who've experienced being led astray by certain people who are fronting as traditional healers. How does one deal with something like this?
You know, I think it goes back to being in touch with your youth, being in touch with the spirit within you. Because what happens in Kulu is that you don't just wake up one morning and say, your ancestors, the spirit within you, they guide you. They show you where to go. They show you who to go to. And I think the issue starts where you want to pick and choose where you want to go and where you want to be comfortable. So if you listen to your guide, you'll never ever be led astray. And that's the issue, is that you rush the process and you just want to get it over and done with, and you don't give these people their time.
What are some of the myths about ubungoma, Gogo, that, you know, be it black people or just South Africans by their different races, you know, have gone with for years and centuries and decades? What are some of the myths that, you know, you wish to demystify, in fact?
You know, I think the first thing is that people always associate ubungoma or Sangoma with someone that is dirty, someone that is old, someone that has lost himself. So I think as soon as people see me, they're like, we sang on this journey wearing makeup, we sang on this journey when so glamorous. I think that is one of the narratives that I personally would like to take, is that you don't have to lose yourself. And I keep preaching this. You don't have to lose yourself. Ubungoma, it doesn't associate with dirt because if so, to begin with. So that is one of the myths that I really would like to do away with.
And then, of course, I know, from personal experience, at least with the number of people I've engaged with, Uguti, am I going to now have to do away with my, let's say, for example, I'm a career person and I'm, on TV every day. Would I have to do away with my career so that I can focus on Ubungoma, or can both live in unison?
Both will live in unison. It's not that they can, they will. If you embrace Ubungoma bako, Ubungoma will embrace you. So once you have gone through ipheso and you are at home, you pass and you communicate with your ancestors. You let them know, this is the life that I lead. I will incorporate you into what I do on a daily basis. I think the problem is when you want to go through ipheso, and then you just done with it. And then you just throw it into exploring and you just carry on with your life. That's where the issue lies. So I think you need to create harmony. You need to create a balance between all these things that are going on in your life, and everything will just be fine. You don't have to quit whatever job that you're doing.
Koko Mbonga isikhathi this afternoon. That's Slay Sangoma, who is a traditional healer, just speaking about how the youth, is starting to, embrace traditional healing and ubungoma and idlozi these days.